Direct from San Francisco, California. In the heart of the Tenderloin. Welcome to the Kiff and Ang Podcast. San Francisco Lockdown Edition. A subsidiary of Kiff and Ang Productions in association with Kiff and Ang Studios. Online at kiffandangpodcast.com. And now, Kiff and Ang.
Welcome to the Kiff and Ang Podcast. And we have got such an awesome episode today, especially if you're into that whole serial killer genre. And we're going to be talking about one of the scariest and one of our favorite serial killers out there, Richard Ramirez. But before we do, we've got to give a big special shout out to
Yes.
You got those names.
We have to give a shout out to Lori Trosper. She is one of our recent subscribers on YouTube. Lori, thank you so much. And I also want to shout out to our VIP patron, and that is Renee Ciccioni. Each month, Renee has she's committed to supporting us and supporting our art and our creativity and giving us a little bit of a money stream that allows us to keep our subscriptions for some of our platforms moving so that you guys can watch us on everything.
If you like what you hear, if you're like, what, I didn't know this, maybe consider being one of our Patreons. It's pretty cool. Just go to patreon.com and look up KIFF and Ang, A-N-G.
Podcast.
Oh, yeah. We don't come up when you just type in Kiff and Ang.
We do on some of the search engines now because we're getting a lot of
We're
play
getting
in a
some
lot of
traction
places.
now.
Yeah. So he had burglarized this home already. He knew the layout of the home, and he knew a little bit about the people that lived in the home. In this home now that he had previously burglarized, he knew that there was a man and a wife living there. And when he went in, he killed sleeping Vincent Cahrles Zazarra, age 64, with a single shot to his head, right in his sleep. This woke Zazzara's wife, Maxine Levenia Zazzara, age 44. Ramirez tied her up. He began to beat and torture her, and he demanded to know where her valuables were. And the story goes on.
God, I can't even imagine how horrifying. Now, look, I did some time in 12-step, and I've heard some scary retaliation gang drug stories. That's freaky, man. Ramirez ended up shooting her because she couldn't tell him what he wanted, though, right?
Well, she did her best, and but he did end up shooting her.
Maxine couldn't tell him what he wanted to hear. Ramirez shot her 3 times, got a large knife from the kitchen. He stabbed her, gouged out her eyes, and put them in the jewelry box. And what are you saying here, that he took the jewelry box full of eyes with him, Ange?
Yeah.
But it did happen after the woman passed away, so she didn't have to at least experience the awfulness of it all. The reason, I'm listening.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of the torture that she was alive for. So, but the eyes, the mutilations, those were after death. Yeah. Yeah.
So he left footprints from a pair of, I don't know about shoes. Is it Avia or Avia?
Avia size 11.5. And the thing is that, there's kind of a backstory to the pattern of the soles of those shoes and how many were sold. And that was a clue that the police really sort of cherished. That was a big deal to them. And so they did not release that to the public.
So they had matched the bullet casings to the other shootings. They realized that there was something not random about this, that it was a serial killer.
Yep.
Now, Vincent and Maxine's bodies, can you imagine going into your parents' house and seeing them? Because that's how they were found, by their son, Peter.
Yeah.
And it didn't just stop with Ramirez for him. He went to Monterey Park. He shot and beat Bill Doy, who later died of his injuries. So he survived for quite a while. He thumb cuffed and raped Lillian Doy, his wife, disabled 56-year-old wife, thumb cuffed. What is thumb cuffing, Ange? What is a thumb cuff?
And disabled. A disabled woman and thumb cuffed.
They're like little handcuffs, but they're small and they're kind of serrated. You have to laugh or you just can't make it through, if that makes any sense.
And that's the thing too, is we don't want to make it too traumatic for our listeners either. You know, there's really this is a podcast about all things San Francisco, and this is one of those things, and we're going to see very soon here exactly where that connection is made.
So Ramirez went on to Monrovia, California. He stole a car. And then he went on to the home of Mabel Bell, an 83-year-old woman, and her sister Florence Lang, 81. He found a hammer and he bludgeoned the women to death, tortured them by electrocuting them, and then he unfortunately raped Lang. They were found alive 2 days later, but unfortunately Mabel did pass away. I don't know.
Alive 2 days later. These sisters lived with these injuries in their homes.
Poor women. And then nobody was checking on him. Like, So then the next day he went to Burbank and he encountered Carol Kyle. Boy, he was on a streak, right?
This is one of the very worst serial killers in the history of the United States. And it gets worse.
This is creepy. He was 42. Her son was 11. Ransacked the house. Locked the kid in the closet and then sodomized the boy. Sodomized Kyle, the woman, Carol.
The last name is Kyle.
Yes, Carol. And then he handcuffed her to her son, fled the scene. They were both left alive.
Yeah.
And I have to say, like, he put the kid in the closet.
Yeah.
Is it to make the kid not want to see it? Like he did not want the kid to be a part of it? Like,
well, here's the
weirdly
thing.
protecting him or something?
Here's the thing. I didn't really put it all in there.
Yeah.
And it's not real clear in the research that I made whether the son was present during a part of the rape. I think the son tried to escape and might have been caught and was kept in the room.
Gosh. After almost a month, Ramirez took so it was a month later, like a full month, all quiet, no old ladies locked in closets. He drove a stolen car to Arcadia, California, and then unfortunately found Mary Louise Cannon, 75 years old, asleep in her bed. He beat her unconscious, stabbed her repeatedly with a butcher knife from her very own kitchen, and later she was found dead on the scene. Then on July 5th, 1985, Ramirez broke into a home in Sierra Madre, California, where he found 16-year-old Whitney Bennett. He began to beat her with a tire iron as she slept. He couldn't find a knife, so instead he used a telephone cord to strangle her. As he tightened the cord, he had a religious experience. He saw sparks flying from the cord. Bennett started to believe again, and Ramirez thought, oh, Jesus himself has come down, and stopped this attempt to kill Bennett, which, mind you, I believe in divine intervention, so I wouldn't doubt it. So he ran from the house thinking God was there. And by the way, it took Bennett like 450 stitches to just heal her scalp up. I mean, it was a really big deal.
I mean, I can't imagine being beat with a crowbar. 450 stitches to her head alone.
With a tire iron. My bad. Same difference, right?
Yeah. I think so.
So, but she lived. God, this is a really freaky story, Angela.
Maybe it was divine intervention because, you know, Richard Ramirez is a little weird when it came to some of that religious things. And we're going to get a little into it.
You said that he thought like Jesus had come to him, like that was it, the spark.
He thought Jesus came to her, and it was a battle because Richard Ramirez was a Satanist. Oh my gosh. So if you think this has been interesting, You need to join us for the next episode, the third installment of Notorious Crimes of San Francisco with Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker.
The opinions and topics discussed in any Kiff and Ang production or show are meant to be controversial, provocative, and possibly create a conversation that is not already being had. The most important thing to remember about this production is that it has zero educational or historical value other than from a purely popular parody perspective. By listening to this podcast, you understand that it is solely for entertainment purposes. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, parody, scholarship, and research. Kiff and Ang Productions is meant to provide parody in an already difficult life. If you find no humor or entertainment in our productions, well, for goodness sakes, don't listen.